What up, Cooks? It's your boy, the Hater, up in this piece. And this video will be about none other than Jacob Fatu. Now, I feel like it's been long enough for me to give this guy a chance and make a final verdict on who and what he is. And who he is Jacob Fatu. And what he is an overrated jobber. You know, before this guy came to the WWE, and more specifically to SmackDown, we all heard from many, many people, the same way they spoke about Karrion Kross, about how this guy is special, how this guy is different, how this guy can do this and can do that. Well, all I've seen him do is a double jump moonsault, which many different people have done, all over the time, right? The reality is what the reality is. Okay, this guy is not entertaining. He's a jobber, and he is indistinguishable from the likes of Solo Sikoa and many other people of his ilk, right? A mid-level jobber who, in my opinion, has Kevin Owens written all over him. Except for when Kevin Owens debuted, he became NXT champion and then eventually beat Cena clean. You know what I mean? And this guy's not going to do any of those things. This guy is going to be presented as this, terrifying monster until it's time for, the next face to beat this guy's ass. Whether that's Cookie, whether that's Roman, more likely than not, it'll be like an LA Knight type guy, right? He'll, get excited, challenge for the mid-card title, and lose that one real quick. Or maybe even a Sami Zayn, you know what I mean? This guy, there's nothing special about him. Now, let's delve into the specifics. First of all, nobody really said anything about his ability to cut promos, so I don't know if that was a thing that he was supposed to be good at. But the reality is, even if he's good at that, not with this current iteration of Jacob Fatu. Granted, I haven't seen him in other places, so I don't know. But the facts are what the facts are. You can't be good at promos when you just act like an idiot the entire time. He's just yelling and screaming and saying things like, "I love you, Tribal Chief." First of all, why? These things, even these simple things have to be explained. Why are all these people so, on board with Sol Sikoa? Surely they don't look at Sol Sikoa and think to themselves, oh, this guy is, a leader of any capacity. They probably look at him and say, wow, this is what this has been reduced to. The fact of the matter is, if it's Roman Reigns, the fact that he is the quote-unquote tribal chief is amplified by the fact that he's, number one, a multiple-time WrestleMania main eventer, number two, the clear face of the company, and number three, the world champion, right? That's the real key here. If you're the world champion, it makes sense that people will follow you because they're like, oh, if I'm next to the world champion, I'll get some glory, right? Which is exactly, for example, what happened to the Usos. They went from being on the same level as Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, who are now jobbers, right? To being this world level tag team, and Jey Uso even getting a big rub as, main event Jey Uso now, right? And Jimmy Uso probably, had the highlight of his career as well when he wrestled and lost to Jey Uso at WrestleMania. These guys are never going to have that opportunity again, most likely, right? So with all that being said, it's that makes sense. But if you're next to Solo Sikoa, now granted, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu became tag team champions, but, the tag team titles don't mean anything really, right? It's especially, after the Usos held both of them for so long, it's holding one of them doesn't really, it just doesn't feel right? It doesn't feel like a big deal. So why would they follow him? But anyways, so, in terms of the promos and the character development of Jacob Fatu, there's been zero on both ends. So he gets a zero on those scores, you know what I'm saying? Now, the in-ring stuff. I will say this, he's being booked as a monster, right? He's being booked exactly like Umaga was. He's no selling things, except he's much smaller than Umaga. And he's got a quasi-athletic finisher, right? But, it's nothing really that crazy because Umaga would do a top rope splash, which was pretty cool because he was twice the size of Jacob Fatu. And Rosie, who was even bigger, would do a split-legged moonsault as a signature move, So it's this is less impressive than the split-legged moonsault in many ways. So with all that being said, it's what is it this guy brings to the table, He has the Samoan moveset, but, as the name would suggest on this channel, we've established that every Samoan has the Samoan moveset, I don't particularly like how all these Samoans are being presented as being better than they are. All of a sudden, Jey Uso is a singles guy, even though he also has a Samoan moveset. And it's you have to ask yourself, why is Jey Uso better than Jimmy Uso. They're even twins, right? For some reason, Jey Uso is just the superior of the two, and like it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they could have done a better job explaining that, but Jacob Fatu, like, he's supposed to be this intimidating giant figure, right? He's supposed to be this guy that's undeniable. Except for the problem is he's very deniable, as evidenced by this video and many others like it by me, where I have denied any of the talents that this guy has. Now, the issue that I have with this, right, and it's not really an issue because it doesn't like affect me, but it does irk me a little bit, right? Is this like this expectation? And that's why I brought up Karrion Kross, because it's the same thing, right? It's like nobody can point to anything good about Karrion Kross. Nobody can point to anything objectively good about Jacob Fatu. All they can say is, trust me, bro, this guy's good. Well, if this guy were good, I'd be able to see it, right? It's the same thing with people like Grayson Waller, you know what I mean? Like, this guy, I've been against him the entire time. People are like, trust me, this guy's going to be a big deal. Why should I trust you, right? Why should anyone trust anybody who doesn't have any kind of opinion that's based on evidence? You know, what evidence do we have that Jacob Fatu is going to have a better career than Umaga? You know? I mean, Umaga's a Hall of Famer. He shouldn't be, but like, which is, by the way, like, Umaga's probably like the worst Hall of Famer of all time. Like, it's like he did nothing to be a Hall of Famer. I don't mean to disrespect him because he is dead, and the hater respects the dead. But it's like I know that like if Umaga was still alive, no way he'd be in the Hall of Fame, right? The idea is he's dead, so it's like we're gonna put him in eventually because you know the bar is so low, so we might as well put him now, right? That's the idea. Like imagine this: if Eddie Guerrero was retired, right, and he was still alive, he probably wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He would make it there eventually, just like, for example, Dean Malenko is going to one day be in the Hall of Fame, right, for all the contributions that he's made to wrestling, right? But, or even Jericho. Like, Jericho should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, right? He's had a better career than Eddie Guerrero by, like, leaps and bounds. It's not even close, right? But, like, you know, even if he retires, they're not going to put him in right away because he went to AEW and everything. But the idea is, like, if Jericho died, like, he would be in the next Hall of Fame class 100%. Hopefully it doesn't happen because I don't want him to die. But you understand what I'm saying, right? There is, like, an undeniable boost that people get when they die, and then they get labeled as legends, and it's like, dude, you're not really a legend. Like, Umaga, like, nobody would consider Umaga a legend. You know what I mean? Like, he was, like, a one-time Intercontinental Champion, I think, if that. Like, he wasn't anything special. So, with all that being said, he was basically, like, the foil to Lashley. Like, he was just there so Lashley could get a massive push, you know? And Lashley's still alive. Like, he's about to, like, leave the WWE, and he's on the Hall of Fame, and he's on a way better career. He will be one day. I mean, there's no doubt. Like, Lashley, just even on this run alone, like, he's, you know, it's not a Hall of Fame run, per se, but it is a, you know, new Hall of Fame run. But, like, Jacob Fatu, he's done absolutely nothing. And at this point, right, like I said at the beginning of this video, at this point, it's like, we're beyond the introductory period. Like, he's now a mainstay on SmackDown. Yeah, he's only had like a match and a half or 2 matches or whatever, but he's there, right? And some of the stuff that we would expect from him would have manifested by now, right? He's had like, I mean, what has he done? Like, he's had like 1 tag match, and that's it. Like, as far as I know, and you know, he earned it by winning like some tag team turmoil match, but he showed up in that one. He was booked strong in that one, but it's like, but it wasn't impressive, right? Until this guy has like a legit streak as a singles wrestler, which doesn't seem to be in the cards anytime in the future, then like he's just an overrated jobber as far as I'm concerned. Like, fundamentally, the biggest detractor from Jacob Fatu is his association with the rest of these jobbers, right? So like, if he were someone that's special, then he should be the leader of the bloodline. But because he has to be presented as a savage, you know, Solo Sikoa is presented as like more intelligent, basically. So he has to be the leader, and he was also there, so you know, it makes more sense. But it's like, we all know Solo Sikoa is just a jobber. Like, this guy's never going to be anything serious, right? But if he's going to be a jobber, then what about the guy under him? You know what I mean? What about the guy under him? He's going to be a jobber too. And you know, Solo Sikoa, he's like a hands-on, you know, like stable leader, right? He's not like, for example, we had Stevie Richards, you know, who, by the way, extremely underrated. I'm definitely going to do a, you know, like a Stevie Richards wrestler review. But the reality is, like, you know, it is what it is. But he's like a lackey to a lackey, you know. And Steven Richards, at least, he was the leader of the stable, but like he was presented as a coward who didn't really wrestle. So, you know, you had people like Godfather and Val Venus and Bull Buchanan, who are all like big monsters, right? Even Val Venus is like a big dude, but like Bull Buchanan and Godfather are like on another level. They're just massive motherfucks, right? And like, it was fine because like just of the role that was being played. So with that being said, you know, Jacob Fatu, he has yet to impress me. And honestly, I don't think he's impressed anybody. People are just pretending to be impressed because that's just the way things are now. You have to pretend to be better than everyone else is, and you have to pretend that others are better than they actually are. And the hater is not on board with that, cuckolds.